Good evening. We are live, 8:35. Apologies for the 5-minute delay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. The people who watch on YouTube, we do see your comments come in earlier than when the show goes live. And Michael B, I think this is a very, very harsh comment on EJ. EJ and Grock as well, who are part of the rotation, are very, very good contributors in their own right. So now Tiggs will be back next week. I'll talk a bit more about that later. But no, we just thought it was a laugh. How are we, gents?
How are you, AJ?
How we going? How we going, Captain? I don't like football. I'm over it. I'm not interested this year. Blood 17.
You know what? Let's start with the bloodbath, shall we?
Right. Oh, fire away.
Right. Tom Lynch. My bloodbath is a Tom Lynch. Now, I'll tell you something. I'm sick of this prick, right? I'm sick of Tom Lynch not being able to hold a lead. At three-quarter time, Tom Lynch was 8 goals straight, 48. Hawthorn were 5 goals, 10-40. He was 8 points up on Hawthorn going into the last quarter, and the weak prick couldn't even hold a lead and beat Hawthorn on his own. So, you know what, Tom? You're a weak as piss, mate. That was a shit effort.
Do better.
Do better.
No, it's I'm sure we'll get to the game shortly, but before we get into our game, Phil Egan was meant to be with us tonight. He still might be joining in, so if we do see Phil pop up, we will 100% add him straight into the chat. So keep your eye out there. But I think we do have to have a laugh at Carlton's expense quickly as well, because as we all know, as Richmond supporters on the social media, the Blues have been chirping quite a bit throughout the year after they knocked us off. And to be fair, they were playing pretty good footy and they were in the 4 and it was their year. And we called it a few weeks ago, EJ, and I think you were on board as well, CB, that it could all come crumbling down very quickly for them based on their fixture. And what a sight to behold in the last 10 seconds to give it away to Cozzy Pickett.
I just want to say, for the record, I tried to get, and Michael's confirmed, I tried to get a call up of that game in the morning, and EJ was on board, but we just couldn't quite make all the planets align. And it just feels like an opportunity lost that how we could have finished that broadcast off would have been just one of the all-time great things.
As I saw the result, all I could imagine was all of us squealing like little schoolgirls about the result and just going nuts. It would have been hilarious.
It was wild.
I'd actually resign myself. I'd resign myself to the fact that Carlton were playing finals. I was at peace with the world. I was okay with it. And then Cozzy bobbed up, and I reckon I cheered pretty bloody loud, dancing around the lounge room. Bloody fantastic.
It was like they had it and then they blew it. Like they had it and then they blew it. It was so good. It was so damn good.
It was actually the perfect weekend of football if you're a Tiger fan. Carlton lost, Collingwood lost, Essendon may as well not have shown up. Finlayson looked good against them. That's how bad they were. And we obviously got over the line.
Perfect.
Before we get stuck into it, I do also want to say a big thank you to all the listeners and viewers. This is kind of a mini celebration show of sorts. And I know that might sound a bit funny because I know the job's only half done, but to lock ourselves into finals after some of the results we had during the year was pretty tough. And like all the listeners, we fronted up week after week to have a bit of a therapy session, talk ourselves through it, try and make ourselves feel better about the whole situation. And it's not possible without you guys listening. So it's a great result for, I suppose, us as a show and you as listeners to be able to enjoy a couple of wins on the trot and obviously lock in that final spot. So thank you, I suppose, for sticking firm with us and for helping us get through it as much as we helped you. All right. With that, we will here we go. That's Michael. Good call. The text messages from Carlton supporter mates have stopped. You had an episode like that, CB, but on the Essendon front, wasn't it?
No. Mine was a Carlton mate, but
it was Carlton as well.
He's needled us for 20 weeks, been a flog, memes, you name it. We went hard at him for 24 hours, and I swear he was nearly going to leave all chat rooms, the whole lot, so we had to back off on him. So, but like I said, mate, there's still part two to occur this Sunday. And for the record, we are trying to get a death ride call up this Sunday of Carlton versus Collingwood. I'm being serious. So if you don't want to listen to Channel 7 commentary, we may do the ultimate troll call and have a bit of fun on Sunday while we're in finals.
Yeah, that is not a joke. That is deadly serious. If the stars can align and you do want to watch the game to see the final outcome for the Blues, you may be able to do it with us. Like, we don't care about, really, whoever loses, but it could be glorious if the result goes the way we want it. And Grock, this isn't
I mean, if Carlton are good enough to win, we will, of course, on the call, congratulate them for a fine effort.
Yeah.
But for the 119 minutes before the final siren goes, it's open slather.
If they win, we'll probably just hit end broadcast straight away. Won't even worry about the rest of it. Just shut it off. Grock, this is an amazing point. The Blues may be the only side in VFL AFL history to be in the top 8 for 22 weeks and drop out of the finals race in the last week. That would be some type of story. Let's hold on to that nugget for this weekend.
They're sweating on a drug scandal or something, aren't they?
Yeah, you're stealing my lines. I told you that.
That's a gift to steal my bloodbath last week, you prick.
All right. Tiggs will be on. So Monday night in the bye week, we are doing a trade special. We might get some of the regulars in as well, because I'm sure there'll be plenty to discuss and questions from the audience about not only trades, but about the season and finals and things like that. So, make sure we all tune in for Monday this week coming. But we'll get cracking into the game. I think Tiggs was on SEN today. It's his second home.
Huge news. Jeremy Cameron's done a hamstring.
Really? Oh, we don't wish him on anyone, but that's interesting for the Cats, isn't it?
Meow.
Yeah.
All right. I'll get stuck into our game because there's quite a bit to talk about. A lot of love to give for the Tiger players. Richmond 20 goals, 8 if you don't mind. 128 defeated Hawthorn 9-13-67 by 61 points. Lynch kicked 8 straight, mind you. I was trying to work out when the last time a player who kicked 8 goals didn't register a behind, but I was struggling with my research. So if someone knows that, feel free to tell me. Cumberland 2, Edwards 2, Prestia 2, Morris Rioli Jr. 2, Bolton 2, Castagna, Cochin and Miller with 1 apiece. EJ, thoughts on the game?
Look, it was very pleasing. Just and a little bit of a tidbit with Lynch with the 8 goals. Is the first person in the 18-team era to kick 8 goals in a match on the MCG.
Oh, very good.
There you go. Look, if you look at the numbers, and CB was telling me it was different at the game, and I was a late withdrawal for actually going, but it's amazing what happens when you kick straight. Because if you look at the numbers up until half time, apart from sort of time in forward half, the numbers were reasonably even. We didn't ever look like we were not in control, though. And that third quarter, was a quarter for the ages. I think it was something like 12 inside 50s, 9 goals. So our sharpness and our cleanness is back. And I think CB said something the other day about it was like a switch was flicked halfway through the Brisbane game, and we carried it on really well. There's a lot of different people to highlight individually, but it was a very satisfying team performance.
Which we will definitely get to. We will touch on a few players individually. But CB, the first 10 minutes, I won't lie, had me a little bit worried. We were getting a lot of inside 50s, but we were just butchering it. And I was waiting for that easy, unanswered goal from Hawthorn to kickstart them. But we held firm and got on with it.
Honestly, being at the game, we never looked not in control. Like, that was a very controlled performance. But the one thing I'll say was what I wanted to see before finals was a real power performance. Like, I wanted to see us put a team away and do it in a brutal fashion. And the fact that we were able to achieve that against Hawthorn, our improvement week on week is we're lifting. And that was the performance I wanted to see. I wanted to see us smash a team, and that's exactly what we did. And I could not be happier.
You're right. And, there's people out there who say, yeah, it was just Hawthorn. And, there's maybe a small element of that. But when you look at our performances over the course of the year, like you said, we've not been able to put a side away. We've gotten leads. We've blown 30-point leads. We've done everything but actually nail someone. And I think all of us were just really looking for that comprehensive victory to actually show that, yeah, we've got our shit together. And, that to me, that showed some really positive signs. And as I sort of tweeted a couple of times, to be able to be this far out from finals and play a positive brand of football and reinforce good things, good running patterns, it's invaluable.
Yeah. One of the points in the comments was something that I had written down.
I reckon I had it written down too, but go on.
MRJ.
Yeah. You do it.
Oh, Maurice Rioli Jr. has generated 113 points from turnover. How many games has he played? It's the one? Right. He's played a handful of games. He's number one in the AFL from points generated from turnovers in that amount of games. His pressure is insane. You could hear it on the telecast. Again, I'm disappointed not to be there. The only issue with this now is the crowd know what's happening and they're warning the opponent. You can hear the roar rise up as he's chasing players. It's amazing. It's awesome. It's awesome to watch. And he is never, ever to be the sub again. That's it.
Maurice Rioli is like the closest way I can describe his game is like Byron Pickett. People, they just do not see him coming. For however it works out, like they just don't see Maurice Rioli Jr. coming, and he just drills them. And it is so good to watch. He's a special kid. And again, well done to the recruiting team to get this kid in because he's fantastic. Love him.
And Warren, to your point too, like I know we've obviously just spoken about his pressure, which is absolutely unbelievable, but I know it's an isolated kick, but that kick from the back half to hit Edwards in between three players on the top of the 50, then wheels around and hits Lynch. It's a ballsy kick because he was under pressure himself after he just burst away. But as a few people have sort of said in the media, the one thing everyone's starting to notice is he's actually becoming a lot more confident with these ball handling and his skills backing himself. He knows where the goals are, obviously, and he's taking those passes. He's getting more involved in those link-up plays. And, yeah, the thing that stood out for me with him and his running is even if he's not directly near the player with the ball, he's actually looking 2 or 3 possessions ahead to get to that next spot to put that person under pressure. And the play, that's why he catches people out, because they don't expect that. They see they're in a bit of space. They don't expect him to be on right on him, a second after they've got the ball. So he's come a long way. And look, granted, there's still a lot of development and growth for him to go, but shit, he's only 19 and he's doing this already. And we've said it a few times on this show, but he makes our side 10 times better as an overall pressure gauge when he's on the park. Unquestionable.
Just want to think, Subatomic 10's raised the thing about Sonsi replacing Lambert. I'll just say this. For those who are wondering about the improvement of Sonsi, he is actually getting mentored by Lambert. So take that for whatever it's worth. But if you wonder why this kid is really becoming a Richmond man, he has the ultimate Richmond man mentoring him right now, and it's paying dividends.
The only question I have on Sonsi is why he has the hairstyle of a 40-year-old accountant. that side part and everything, mate, you're a kid. You should spruce it up.
Shave it well, maybe it's strong.
Yeah.
I would rather him keep it really basic than go full Ginnivan blonde out there type style. Now, Sonsi, absolutely loving him. I was talking to Tiggs today on the phone, and everyone who listens to this show will know that he was calling for Sonsi to come in weeks and weeks and weeks before he came in. And not the only one, mind you. A lot of people saw the same kind of traits, but he is 100% a much better player in AFL than what he's going to be in VFL. His composure, decision making, gets the ball on both sides of his body. CB is showing very, very good signs, and I dare say there'll be a lot of clubs out there who are going to be kicking themselves that they overlooked him, given he was touted top 5 at one point.
Remember when Essendon were claiming they won the draft with Hobbs? Okay.
Yeah. It's, yeah.
And the thing with Sonsi I noticed is he was really noticeable in the first half when the game wasn't sort of blown away.
Yeah.
So when the game was at its hardest for us is when he was most industrious. I thought that was pretty telling as well.
Yeah.
I'll give Tiger 71 a little bit of love. He put out a couple of tweets which really resonated with me yesterday. He's talked about how we've blooded, the 5 people, your Sonsi, Miller, MJ, Cumberland, Gibcus, right? They're all coming through. We're regenerating on the run. And the other thing that he said was that outside of the youth coming through, which is so bright, we've learned how to win without Dusty, which is really important. Now, when Dusty comes back, he's the icing on the cake. we're not relying on Dusty for what we're doing to happen. He will be the icing. And
scary.
I don't know if people have even thought about that much more than maybe what Teacher said. No one's talking about him. They're saying, oh, hamstring. They're not talking about what he adds when he comes back. We've done this without him.
Exactly right. And, you listen to all the players in the media. There was an interview with Baker today, I think it was, that they're all pretty adamant that he's coming back in finals. So whether they're just feeding us what we want to hear is obviously left to remain to be seen. But when you see the images of Dusty in the change rooms after the game, he's doing all the training stuff. I think the media can now eat some humble pie because he's definitely invested in what we're doing. He's still around. He's there. And, my God, if he comes in at finals time, fit, fresh, there's obviously could be an element of rust, which is the worrying point. You don't want it to be at the expense of a kid and upset the apple cart. But, yeah, if he can come in and be the icing on top of the cake, that's a very dangerous prospect for the other clubs inside the 8 CB.
Yeah, 100%. Sorry, I just received a text message. I was just responding. Apologies.
I mean, Castagna was a sub, so I'm sure there's room for him.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's an obvious choice, and that's a good call, Richmond Jenny. Dusty's going to Sydney to kick a bag against him. That's the only time he's going up there. Grock, I was about to braze this man's name, Nick Floston. Really, none of us thought he was going to play. Even when he was named, we thought that we were just playing funny buggers, giving him every chance to. But the fact he got up after that knock, he played an incredible game. Showed no fear. I'm sure he had rib padding on, no doubt, but he was exceptional, EJ.
Sorry, I was reading it. I was reading a note on the side. I missed the last bit of that.
I
don't know if it's true or not. Boggo put up there, it's the year of the Tiger. Is that a fact?
It is. But the reality is, I think it might have been, was it Grant Thomas or that was Ross Lyon. Ross Lyon described Nick Floston. He said he's brave in the mind and he's brave in the body. And he said that during the call of the Brisbane game. And obviously knows his stuff, because when you look at what Floston did on the weekend, backing up after the hit he copped, that's exactly what he is. You couldn't describe him any better, I don't reckon.
I didn't see any padding. Was there any padding?
I didn't see. I read that someone said they noticed it, but yeah, I'm not. I can't confirm myself, but I'm sure someone may have seen it. But super effort to play after that knock and to keep playing with that same courage.
Spook said he's no Darcy Byrne-Jones.
There's no Darcy Byrne-Jones.
Oh, don't mention the war, guys. That's just.
Oh. What about Benjamin? Is it Benjamin Button? Was he the one who aged backwards? Trent Cotchin?
Oh.
Hasn't he wound back the clock the last month? Jesus.
He actually, you know what? He actually had a really good year last year. When we was playing like a pack of busted bottoms, he was quite good for us. And to me, he's really just going on from how he finished last year. I think he's had a wonderful year, not just the last month. I think he's been a very credible footballer for us, and he's going out with a bit of gas in the tank. I love it.
17 contested possessions, 8 clearances, 30 disposals. Is he maybe a little bit off the leash because he's not having to do the defensive work to cover for Dusty a little bit?
Maybe. I was about to put up a different thought that has onus gone back onto him with Grimes being out to pick up some slack to help Nank, and he's kind of just playing how he was. I don't know. It's really weird, but his last month has been exceptional, leading from the front in all facets.
Oh, yeah, the missiles. Yep.
And Sci-Fi, that's not far off, mate. In rare Brownlow form, he is absolutely slaughtering them in there. I do worry when I see him bolting after blokes with his hamstring. I'm not going to lie. It's a bit of heart and mouth type stuff. But, yeah, he's gotten through really well. And whether he thinks it's one last hurrah, I don't know. But whatever he's doing, keep doing it, because it makes us such a better team.
Yeah.
Ben Miller, I think, for all intents and purposes, has taken Soldo's spot. We've now got someone who, and I don't know how many people know this, but in under 18 football, Miller was a ruck. He was a part-time ruck, so it's not foreign to him. And you can tell by watching him at the game, his ability to actually direct taps to our midfielders was actually very, very good. He's got a good leap on him. He's agile around the ground, can mark and kick. And like we said before, if his ruckman goes forward to try and expose us, well, Miller's a well-trained defender who can cope with that quite comfortably. I think we look a better side with him in versus Soldo.
Yep.
Mate, better leap, more versatile, better mark, better kick.
And not
currently ticking a lot more boxes. Sorry, AJ?
Not as lumbering. Like Soldo's the old-fashioned lumbering ruckman. Miller's got look, what an athlete, as Luke Darcy would say. He's more athletic as well.
And he can play both ends of the ground. Like even he went forward on the weekend. And he was quite challenging for the Hawthorn defence.
Spotted it. Never looked like this.
Very good mark too. It'd be interesting to see what everyone in the chat thinks, whether you would rather Soldo or Miller in your team. But I think from a balance perspective, I think we've got it right at the moment.
Yeah, and what's he played? 10 games, 12 games? It's not many. I think in the last 2 or 3 weeks, you've really seen that now that he's got a run, he's got the confidence. Last year when you put him in for the last game of the season, it was okay, but there's a little bit of hesitation. The more you play, the more you get comfortable with the speed, with the players around you. You're happier to make your own decisions or whatever. He's got the confidence, like Morris Rivalry Jr., a few games in, just to feel like you belong gives you an extra 5 or 10% in performance anyway. And it's really noticeable. He looks great.
And the other thing, guys, like I know we've spoke about Tom Lynch, but we actually haven't spoken about who I think we would agree was actually best on ground. Tom Lynch wasn't the best on ground for us. Michaels, how'd you find the human meatballs game doing on Prestia? With 30 disposals, 11 clearances, and 1 snag.
Yeah, it's just below average game for him these days. No, he was exceptional. The importance he plays in our side, like we've said before, can't be understated. So he is our key midfield driver. And someone made a good point before about Prestia being fit and firing allows Koch to do what he does, which allows Graham and Sonzi to do what they do. And it's just that role-playing effect that sort of filters through the team. But he's not quick by any stretch, but his running ability to get to the right spots all the time is sensational. And we'll talk about it a little bit later with the ins and outs, but I'm really in two minds about what to do with him this week.
Yes, there's a bit going on. There's a bit going on.
And we mentioned one Rioli, but it would be bad of us to not mention the other. Dan Rioli is, if he's not a lock for All-Australian halfback, I know it's just an award. I get it's not the end of the world, but isn't he putting together some type of a year? There was a really nervous period where he contested a ball on the wing and he got up limping and everyone's like, oh, shit. But he ran it out. He went back to position and went again. His repeat efforts are off the chart, along with Morris. But like we said, his actual defensive work, EJ, is what's gone to another level. I know his offensive stuff was always good. And he's picking his marks. He's running hard. But he's tackling, he's spoiling, all that kind of stuff. He's just developed a really well-rounded game.
Yep, and actually, finally, it's getting noticed and it's getting commented on in the call. The commentators on the weekend were there and they actually gave him his due credit for his defensive side as well. When we talk matchups every week, we talk about who he's going to go to. From the dual responsibilities of quelling that person, but also running off them and making them accountable as well. And that double-sided ability makes a huge difference, not just to us, but to how the opposition play.
And CB, it wasn't that long ago where everyone was kind of thinking, okay, Bash is going to retire soon. Who do we replace him with? And I don't think anyone in their wildest dreams would have thought it would have hit us in the face this quickly.
That's credit to the coaching team for recognising an opportunity and being able to reshape his game to the player that he is now. So wonderful from the coaching staff to do it, and wonderful from Rioli to take it up and excel. It's been wonderful.
Good question from Cameron. Anyone know what Graham's ankle situation's like? He obviously got subbed off. Do we know if it was a bad one or was it something minor? Has anyone heard anything?
Haven't heard anything. No.
I just saw it being nice. Haven't heard anything yet.
Okay. What other players do you want to talk about? Nank had another good game. Thought he was good again, but I don't know. Just an overall team performance. It was just a very satisfying team performance. Did have to laugh at who's the number 24 defender for Hawthorn, who decided to try a bit of push and shove on Lynchy after he'd had 6 kicked on hthat. Like, come on, mate.
Was that Denver Granger Barras?
Didn't he have a shock? He just handed a jumper in, mate. That was that was terrible. Graham's ankle minor. Okay, that's good. That's good.
John Skurlock has said Cumbo.
Oh yeah, good call, John.
Right. And someone, I think it might have been on Twitter, someone said his ability to get the ball to a person who scores.
That was me.
Yes. Was that you? There you go.
It was me.
Yeah. You go through Twitter so much and it all just bang, bang, bang. But
blurs together.
Yeah, there was a couple of real good score involvements, I think they call them now, or even straight out assists. When you don't have your biggest game and still kick 2 snags and get involved in the others as well, fantastic.
He's always in the right spot, CB. And even that set shot goal he kicked on the wrong side for a left footer, he is a great kick for goal.
I tell you what, I just get really – it looks like he's going to kick the ball at a 90-degree angle with his run up. He does a little side skip and straightens up. But, hey, it's whatever works, I guess. And right now it's working for him. Been a wonderful, wonderful addition to the squad. He's this year's Towner, I guess. You'd almost call him, wouldn't he? Like he's tackling, he smashes them into tackles, he's slotting them, he's taking the grabs.
He's got good footy IQ as well. Like he's a very multi-dimensional player. Yeah. I'm loving him. And look, maybe there was valid reasons to keep him out of the team as long as he was, but he's settled in well. And obviously he's signed a contract during the week along with Sonzi and Miller. So very good to see those 3 boys sign on as well, especially in the form they're in too.
Terrific vote of confidence for the coach who apparently had lost the players, if you listen to Caroline Wilson and a few others, you know.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. All right. Before we go to some questions for the audience, I think now that we're locked into finals, there's obviously a couple of outcomes here at play, and I've actually gone to the trouble of doing a slideshow.
Hello. What's going on?
I just punched in a couple of numbers for the ladder predictor. So just looking at some of the results or the games coming up. So I'm not sure if that part's in the way or not. If Brisbane beat Melbourne, Freo beat the Giants, if we beat Essendon, Bulldogs beat Hawthorn, Collingwood beat Carlton, and Sydney beat St Kilda, which is all fair and reasonable, that would have us playing Melbourne at the MCG. I'm not sure how we all feel about that particular outcome. The second sort of outcomes I had were if Melbourne were to beat Brisbane, so if that one flips, Freo still to beat the Giants, us to still beat Essendon, Bulldogs to still beat the Hawks, Collingwood to still beat Carlton, and Swans to still win, that would give us Brisbane up at the Gabba. So it feels like, do I have 3? I do have 3. There we go. I've got 3 slides. And the third one I had was Melbourne to beat Brisbane, Freo, Richmond, Bulldogs, and then I switched to Carlton beating Collingwood, which we don't want for the lols, as we spoke about at the start of the show. But if that were to happen, that would put us against Collingwood at the G. Now, that would be an amazing final, Richmond versus Collingwood, to have a game at the G where 3 of the last 5 flags have been won by one of those teams would be pretty special. But if you had to pick one of those outcomes, I know there's probably multiple other ones that I haven't factored in, but who would, in order of preference, who would you rather play in a first final? Like, we can talk about openly, even though there's one round left. I know we're still at Essendon, but we can start to talk about these kind of things.
I want us to get Brisbane just to see Fagan's head explode as we roll them on their home deck. I'd love to roll Brisbane up there. Be amazing.
I want the D's because I reckon they are in shocking form at the moment. Carlton D's was an interesting game, but it showed me what is going wrong with Melbourne. They're really struggling to move the ball at the moment. I don't know if anyone watches First Crack, but The stats on them and their ball movement from the defensive 50 into the forward 50 give me the Ds. I reckon we'd strangle the absolute crap out of them.
Yeah, see, for some reason, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but I always had the D's down as the one I'd rather not play, because if they get their game style up and going, it's very quick and chaotic, similar to ours, and it might undo us a little bit.
But on dead set, their movement's fallen off a cliff. They were number 1 AFL for the first 6 or 7 rounds. Then they dropped to about 9th. They're number 17 in transition from defensive 50 to forward 50 at the moment. That's not something that you can click overnight. If they don't get it right this week against Brisbane, they're not going to be able to turn it around in time for the first final. And
so do you reckon they peaked too early?
No, I reckon teams have worked them out and worked out a way to slow them down. If you look at, they kicked away in the middle of last year and they were pretty much they were hardly had a loss in the first half of this year. They've lost 7 out of their last 12 or something like that, or 5 out of their last 12. They've not had a good run in the last 3 months. I think teams have worked them out to a certain degree.
As someone else put in here, CB, the other alternative outcome, which is still a live possibility, is if GWS beat Fremantle and Collingwood beat Carlton, then we would play Fremantle in Perth. So it's probably the lesser likely outcome out of all of them. But even if that was to eventuate, how would you feel about playing Fremantle in Perth?
I'd love that too. Honestly, I don't really hold any fear for any teams around us, to be honest. I think on our day, we're an irresistible force. So, as someone said earlier, whoever, wherever, doesn't matter. Bring them on.
Agree. 100% agree. And I think it's no secret that our best football will be more than competitive against anyone that we play against. And it's nice to see that we're hitting form at the right time of year as well. We're getting our shit together. The forward line's potent, everything's clicking. If you're another team in the 8, you'd be a little bit nervous, I reckon, EJ.
Yeah, you would. Looks like CB's had his annual Botox shots today.
Where's that one? Who said that? That's rough. That's rough.
Just the letter A. They didn't want to identify themselves, which is a bit gutless. But no one wants to face us. No one wants to face us. And I think I'm happy enough to go to Brisbane, as CB said, because I think they're the softest underbelly in the 8. I reckon they're mentally weak, and I reckon there is no way in the world that the Lions can win 4 finals in a row. I know we can. No one wants to play us, but particularly no one wants to play us at the G.
And so I think Sydney is one you want to try to avoid, but I think we can end up with maybe 2 or 3 games potentially at the G if we go that far. And every way I worked it out resulted in a prelim against Geelong. I think just because of the side of the draws we're going to end up on, which would bring a smile to a few people's faces, I think, because it'd be funny if we could do that again. Long way to go, I know. Don't want to think too far ahead, but when you map it all out, the path's there. So it's going to be an interesting round.
CB's muted himself.
I got a question for the audience. Given I'm curious to see what people think now that we've made finals, and given that we're doing it with sort of, round about 5 debutants this year, what do they think is the pass mark for the year? Is winning a final their pass mark? Well, now we're in finals, what the expectation is, prelim or bust? I'd love to know what now people's expectations are now that we've made it. What do they reckon? So,
what do you reckon? What's your thought?
Oh, look, to be honest, I think if we can win a final with Cumberland, Sonsie, all those guys in there, I think that's been a tremendous achievement given we're rebuilding on the run. I really like that. But, hey, if you're in it, try and go as deep as you can, I guess.
Yep. I think it's unlikely that we win it, but if any team is going to come from the bottom half of the 8, it will be us. It's unlikely that we win it, but we can win it. So I definitely think we need to win the first final for it to be considered a pass.
Yep.
And not to mention the amount of experience that would probably add value to for these young guys. It's almost worth, someone put it here before, it's almost worth 10 games of experience, isn't it, with these young kids playing? And, you can't, for me, you can't take them out of the side too when it comes to finals time. If they're in form, and I think we've gotten to where we are because of the enthusiasm and what they've brought to the team, we've got to stick to what works.
Yeah. Adrian Glowry or Glury has made a great point. The week off definitely suits the teams outside the top four more.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
If we win it from outside the top four, that's going to go next year, don't you? I'll scrap that.
The bye.
Oh, the week off. Yeah.
It will go. If we win, we'll go.
All right. Viewers, start thinking up some questions. We'll take some questions from you shortly before we do that, and then we'll have a look at the Essendon game. The other question I want to raise with you guys about finals in particular, and this week it kind of rolls into it, but there's a decision to be made around what the playing list looks like for this week, and I just want to see what everyone's thoughts are on, do you go full strength or do you manage a few players who may be a bit tired and sore, or is it just a case of if you're sore and got a slight niggle, you rest, otherwise carry on?
I'll answer your question with a question. Does Essendon have a coach by Saturday?
Right. Who knows? Heppel could be captain coach at this rate. Depends on who at Channel 7 that you ask, who will never be held to account.
I reckon that they've actually... You can't tell me that Channel 10 and Neil Mitchell went with the fact that he's gone, and then they said, oh, no, not gone. We're going to do an external review, and we're looking closely at everyone. That's just code for we didn't want it to get out, and we'll sack him on our own terms. Yeah. I reckon he'll coach this week and be gone in the couple of weeks after.
Yeah. Look, my gut is, look, the one thing people need to think back to our premiership years is just how critical Toby Nankervis is to us in finals. And I just think Essendon's excuse my language, but they are a dead set shit truck. They are a rabble. They are like Richmond in our darkest days, very Richmondy. It is, trust me, I'm saying it's wonderful, right? There is no... I'm going to go for we can't lose to this rabble, right? So I would feel comfortable if Nank and Prestia, and maybe, if there's another guy with a bit of a knock on him, if it's Riol, he's got a crook foot. If it's three blokes that are critical to our chances moving forward that need a bit of a break, I wouldn't have any beef in that, because you could replace Nankervis with Soldo, bring Jack Ross in for Jack Graham. Like I said, that's what I think anyway.
I can see the pros and cons for both sides. Obviously, winning form is good form, and you would hate to flirt with it and put in a real shit one against Essendon, and it might sort of mentally damage the playing group for the final. But you obviously got the week off as well, and I know there's also a part of me that thinks we shouldn't live in fear too much. Like, if an injury, it's hard. You don't want to lose someone like a Prestia or a Koch or a Lynch because they're so pivotal to our side. But I know winning football is good football, and creating good habits is a huge thing to do. So I think if someone's actually sore and is playing through it, rest them. If they're not and they're a gun play and we happen to get a lead out like we did against the Hawks, manage the minutes. Kind of like we did that against Hawthorn in some respects anyway, didn't we? With the last 10, 15 minutes, our bench was pretty stacked. So I'm not sure what the right answer is. So it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, we'll get to some listener questions. First one from the Richmond Journey. He's got a question. With Cameron out, Hawkins is obviously going to cop a bit more heat with the defenders, which is a good call. Can Lynch kick 10 and win the Coleman?
What's his... I have to get the numbers up. What's his...
He's
talking about yourselves, boys. I'll have a look.
I think he's 7 behind. 7 or
8 behind, I think. Yeah.
55 to 62, I think. Is that right?
I'm just bringing up the stats now on another screen.
It's very close. Keep sending your questions through, folks. We'll answer as many as we can.
As much as I think it would be hilarious, no.
Don't reckon he will?
No.
So an Essendon supporter tweeted me and said, if we play Hurley, Lynch will get the Coleman. So if they send him off on a farewell game, he said he will get the Coleman.
He's 100% playing this week, I reckon. I'll give him a farewell game.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 62-55. He's 7 behind Charlie Curnow.
Second question from Dario. Right now, if Dusty was to come back in, who goes out? I feel I know what the universal answer will be. Yep. George. And the secondary question.
Edwards moved to sub.
Okay, yeah, that was the second part of my question. Yeah, and to be fair to Edwards, he had a reasonably good game on the weekend, but I still think come the point again, the perfect role for him will be sub if Dusty is back playing. I think it suits him to a T. It's a bit pixelated that back. We'll work on that. It was a quick fire job before the show. A few people say don't be surprised when Rutten returns to Tigerland, which is interesting. From Fargo the Grey, it's not Richmond related. That's okay. It doesn't have to be. I'd love to know our thoughts on whether Tassie should be given a team. I'm a yes. I think they should have been the logical choice before Gold Coast and before GWS. They've got the stadiums. The fact that it's been touted they've got to spend $700 million to build a new stadium, to me, is bullshit and reeking of excuses to not give them the license. They've got the stadiums there. They've got the supporter base there. It's a no-brainer.
What a load of shit. They're already playing AFL games there. The grounds are of a standard. That's just garbage. If they can afford to keep pumping that money into a team like Gold Coast with 8,000 members and 4 people watching them, surely we can get a team up in Tassie, a football heartland.
The home of Richo, Disco, Royce Hart, Jack,
Bulldog,
Nag.
And as you know, it's obviously unlikely they'll have a team in the next 1 or 2 years, obviously. But if they did, I would be certain that Jack Arroyo would play for them. Absolutely lock it in. Anyway, next question from Lee. Dusty back for first final. I reckon that's as good as locked in. Assuming there's no further re-injury, I reckon the great man will be back for the first final.
Actually, can I just put something out there as well?
Yeah.
Richmond has a knack of doing big announcements before finals. And to quote Mick Malloy, I'm willing to wager that we will announce the resigning of Rioli on the eve of finals.
And Baker and Bolton potentially. I know Baker did.
Baker's already signed. But I just reckon before finals, just remember the mail broke sort of 3 weeks ago that Rioli was close to, it all pretty much been done. Let's just see if we don't announce a major re-signing on the eve of finals.
I agree with that. I think Tiggs even mentioned that as well a while ago, that not to be shocked if it comes out closer to that time. Struggle Town. Well, Carly, we didn't touch on this one. Will Marlon get reimbursed by the AFL after the Crips getting off to Parkle? The size says it all.
You know what? I was going to do a bloodbath and absolutely roast the MRP. They wonder why people get so frustrated with the game and are so confused by the rulings, and there's genuine angst out there in the football community. That summed up everything Crips getting off when they say the head is sacrosanct, da-da-da-da. Crips absolutely poleaxes a bloke, knocks him out. He can't play next week. And yet due to a legal technicality, Crips is able to play. And the skeptic and the cynic in me says it was to protect betting markets. That was a big factor in him getting off because Crips is one of the Brownlow favourites.
Well, there was a North Melbourne poster that put up a short clip, and it was from like 2013 or something, and it was when Zeeble went through that bloke, and he got 4 weeks. And you put the two clips side by side, and they're almost identical. And yet, apparently, in the last 8 years, we've come a lot further in protecting the player in the head.
Yeah. Lip service.
Mind-blowing. Yeah. And then Crouch cops a week. Anyway. From Nick, do we play Bolton as a forward only when Dusty's back, or play both a Dusty-type role? I would be personally inclined to leave Bolton doing what he's doing and play Dusty deep forward. What a nightmare that would be. for opposition. I think Dusty would have to play forward more than midfield in terms of easing him back into it.
Yeah, I think they can do the switcheroo. As has been pointed out, when Dusty plays and now when Shea is playing, they start in the centre square and then they drift and someone else takes their spot and they lose their opponent that way. So there's the ability to spin those two exactly like that. And with Dusty playing maybe 70% forward due to basic conditioning.
I agree with Lachlan Smith. I don't see Dusty doing too much on the ball now. He's missed too much game time. I think, but I was really happy to see Bolton play a massive chunk of time in the midfield against Hawthorn. I thought that was fantastic. So if Dusty comes back, more than happy for him just to play forward and create as much havoc as he can down there.
Yeah, and on Bolton, very quiet game from Bolton. Finnis McGuinness did a pretty good job on it. But a positive is, and the tail, Jones Racing pointed this out to me, the positive is he was our leading tackler. So it just goes to show that even when he's not having the best game, he can affect it for us in other ways.
Yep. All part of the learning.
A few people put in the chat, if Grimes becomes available in finals, who would make way for him? I think that one's probably a bit more of a longer shot than Dusty, to be honest, just based on how recent the injury is and the severity of it. But if he was to come good, who misses?
I don't reckon he'll be back.
Can I shoot Bambi?
If you're going to say Gibcus?
No. I would leave the side as it is.
Yeah. I wouldn't risk having a bloke who could blow up Reece Conker style in an elimination final in the first 3 minutes and throw everything to hell.
Why do you have to beat up Reece Conker?
I'm just saying, mate, we all remember that. I think the risk is too great now, and bolted behind the ball with Tarrant and Broad and the boys. Very comfortable. I just hate the thought of playing. Yeah, that injury, and he's done it. That's his bad. That's the one he's done previously. So I'll be amazed if he gets back, to be honest.
I think it's on the lower end of chances to come back in, but yeah. I think, and you can't forget as well that the guys playing in the back six now obviously built up a bit more chemistry and it's rolling pretty well. So you don't want to upset that either. So you only just started walking. Okay. All right. We'll thank you for sending through your questions, folks. Much appreciated. We'll take a look at the Essendon game coming up this weekend. They better just keep running just for this week. Do us a favour. Don't get rid of him just yet. Don't take a leaf out of North Melbourne's book. Just let it ride. What's one more week going to do? All right. It's playing Essendon, Stevie. You had some stats on hand you want to run through about the Bombers?
Yeah, look, just some season averages. So if you look at contested possessions, Essendon average 127, Richmond 136. Disposal efficiency, Essendon at 76%, Richmond at 72%. Clearances, both teams average 34 each. 1%ers, Essendon 44, Richmond 54. But here's the big one. Disposals per goal, Essendon 32, Richmond 25. So, but again, we're talking season averages, but really, if you're just looking at the last month of form, I think that's what counts at the moment.
Yeah. And on that, we won contested possession by 14 on the weekend. We won clearance by 12. And as far as Essendon being superior in disposal efficiency, when you play cheap scab footy, it's pretty easy to get your efficiency up. And that's what they do. Crabs.
Yep.
So where's the game won and lost? I know for all intents and purposes, we should be able to get on top of them here. Or do you see do they pose any threat in any part of the ground to us that we need to address?
You got 2 metre Peter. The guy's 5th on the Coleman, so he's definitely got to stop him.
Well, Tarrant kept him goalless last time, so I dare say Tarrant will get the job again after what he did in the first meeting.
I just think you've just got to starve him of opportunity, mate. It all comes down to a half back line of midfield, just like we did. I've actually I actually envisage it's going to be a similar game to how we played Hawthorn, if I'm honest with you. We're just going to brutal it forward.
Yeah, I think with Cochin in the form that he's in and with Prestia doing what he's doing, I think we'll absolutely smack them to the contest because that is an area where they've been weak for years. You know, Essendon, when they get the game on their terms, they're a good-looking side, but when they have to get into the pit and get dirty, since Job's been gone, they've struggled at the coalface. So with the form that Koch is in and the form that Presti's in, I think we'll beat them at the coalface and that will take care of the game.
And having said that, I did see, I think it was Kat. Yeah, very good point. Draper's a very, very good kid. Really, really good ruckman. Rate him. Wouldn't want him in a Richmond jumper. He's a good kid. And he's got a sick mullet.
Although Finlayson did make him look second rate for a quarter, which isn't a good look if you're Sam Draper. Overall, though, I agree. Draper's a very good ruckman. So I suppose the real threat here is Essendon aren't going to want to put in another shit performance like they have the last couple of weeks. I know they won't have much choice because they haven't got good enough cattle, but they're going to want to respond. So are we expecting a bit more of a difficult, let's say, first quarter and a half? They're going to come out breathing fire.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I would be really bitterly disappointed if it looks evident that our guys have walked into the game thinking it's going to happen.
I'll raise this point to you. Who would you tag in Essendon midfield? Who's going to give you? Who would give you a headache?
Merritt or Parrish, I suppose.
You wouldn't tag him. Would you actually put any effort? Or would you just back your boys to defensively run against them and get it going the other way?
Oh, we let Parrish get 40-something last time, didn't we?
Yeah, you just go head to head. You wouldn't put an actual stopper or a negating role. You would just go head to head.
That's their problem right there.
Yeah. That they're not
Lee Middleton said we'll smack them on turnover as well, which is our game, and they won't chase. And I saw some really damning footage on Sunday night on First Crack. They are a one-way. When they've lost the game, so they might fight for a quarter and a half, but when they've lost the game, they are a disgrace going back the other way. They really are.
If we hit them hard in the first 40 minutes of the game and get like a 6-7 goal break on them, mate, it's all over.
Yeah.
House of Cards. Oh, Punt Road Seal. Love it.
6,500.
Actually, now that is something that I'm meaning to bring up. I was speaking to the tail again today. We need to hold a celebration. In the first week of finals, Essendon's finals drought will be old enough to have a beer. We need to take it to the
pub. That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
I think that was my favourite stat of the week.
That's I like that. All right, looking at some matchups, looking at their back line, Laverde and Kelly and Ridley are probably going to have their hands full with Lynch and the form he's in and Rewalt and Cumberland. Do they have any possible? I really can't see how they're going to stop our three forwards.
I don't have much to contribute. I think we're going to smash them. I literally think we're going to blitz these pricks on every line. And that's not being cocky or disrespectful. I just think
it is.
No. It's not disrespectful when it's a fact. Essendon are a dead set rabble off the field, and it's now being reflected on the field. And we only know those symptoms and those signs all too well. They can't wait for the season to finish, mate. They just want it over. So we're going to bash them. We're going to bash them so good. It's going to be amazing.
Rock actually made a good point. Mason Redmond's had a great year. He's been really, really good off halfback.
You watch how many times he laces one of our guys come off the halfback line. It's going to be amazing.
Mate, I'm giving the guy a compliment. He deserves it. He's had a great year.
Looks like the kid from Mask.
Oh, please.
All right. Well, we'll get some margins and kind of likes the odd enough to have a beer guy. that was pretty good.
Shows his mum.
Well, we'll get some tips, including margins. Chuck them into the chat as well. Pop a few up. Tiasta, I'm looking straight at you, my friend. EJ, what's the margin going to be for this one?
Oh, I reckon we'll beat them by about 74 points.
All right, CB.
I'm with CB. I reckon we'll smash them.
Lynch to kick 10 and to win the Coleman in the last round, and Tigers to win by 72 points.
This makes me nervous because I don't disagree with anything anyone said, but I don't like feeling this way because you don't want it to backfire. But no, I think we'll keep rolling on with the form that we're in. I reckon we'll win by about 50 or 60 points. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than we expect in the first quarter and a half. I think they're going to want to prove players, despite the Rutten situation. But I think after that, we might go all guns blazing. But as Grock said and a few other people have said, the biggest thing we need to get out of this game is 0 injuries. That is the main thing that we need.
The pixel.
I'm going to live there all year now.
120 plus. A lot of big margins in here, folks. I'm liking it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for jumping on tonight, gents. And as we mentioned at the top, there is the possibility we'll be doing a live call on Sunday for the Carlton-Collingwood match to see how that one ends up. Well, I'll say live call. We'll call it a live troll call, just because there's a lot riding on that, and there's going to be some very, very interesting comments if the Pies get up and the Blues miss out. But we need the Bulldogs to win first. So if the Bulldogs don't win, there's no point doing it, I don't think. But they're the game before, I think. So if they get up, then it could be a goal for a cheeky live show on the Sunday, just to hopefully have a laugh at Carlton's expense.
Lee Middleton, Lynch by 55 points.
Lynch by 55 points.
No, Lee's onto something. Like, Lynch should have outscored Hawthorn. Is there any chance Lynch could actually outscore Essendon?
There is a chance. There is absolutely a chance.
So the Bulldogs game kicks off at 1:10, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll pretty much know by halftime whether we're all systems go or not.
Yeah. So if anyone's interested in it, maybe just keep an eye on our socials and we'll put it out there. It'll end up being very last minute because it does hedge on the Bulldogs game. But yeah, hopefully they get over the line and make things a little bit more interesting. So
just loosen those strides off, EJ, by about 3/4 time if they're up. Just loosen the strides. Just get ready to go. Hand lotion. Something soft. Sock. I don't care.
Big game this week. Get through, no injuries, and let's crack on to finals. And trade show Monday night next week with Tiggs, and we'll get some of the other guys on as well. And we'll talk about finals and all things Richmond, whatever the viewers want. And yeah, let's all enjoy the last week of the season before we get stuck into another big boy month.
Fantastic.
Sounds great.
All right. And until next time, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.